Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of RE342, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called They Made Me Watch, written by hixchem. Alarm klaxons blared to life throughout the building, red lights strobing in a pattern that led through the labyrinthian halls to the main lobby. Carter pushed away from his lunch table and immediately began following procedures. He drew his weapon and raced along the hallway, joining with a few other combat-ready responders as he went. Within a dozen heartbeats, they were in a cavernous lobby at the Galactic Security HQ building with 20 others. Everyone had their weapons drawn and set to maximum. A firefight here would leave nothing but ashes, but protocol was protocol. Standing in the center of the hall was one creature in the cosmos everyone present both feared and loathed. Carter, the ranking officer present, stepped forward, only barely aware of the number of plasma bolts that would pass through his body if things got bad. Gods, things nearly always went bad lately. He approached the figure, whose eyes were cast towards the floor. He cleared his throat and spoke. "War General Mador." One eye flicked upward to meet Carter's, then back to the floor. "I'll take your silence in the affirmative. You are to be arrested. Any attempt to resist will result in your immediate execution. And if it costs my life as well, so be it. Do you intend to comply?" A subtle nod. For a moment, Carter was confused. The whole protocol had been designed around the eventuality that the most bloodthirsty, violent, hateful war criminal would one day be sighted. The alarms had gone off because he had been identified with a certainty of 99.99998%. This was the butcher of Betelgeuse, the void-hearted villain, and all the other alliterative names given to the creature that haunts the nightmares of children and adults alike. Yet he stared at the floor as though he were afraid. No, not afraid. This creature was broken. "Kneel down, then lay on the floor. Keep all appendages in sight. Do not make any sudden movements, or you will be executed." Mador spread his arms wide and lowered himself to the floor. Every weapon followed, all pointed at his head. The faintest whisper escaped him as Carter stooped to fasten restraints around him. "They won't let me die. Please, let me die. Please." Carter stood back upright, gesturing to 4 nearby responders. They lowered and holstered their weapons and stepped forward to lift Mador to his feet and check his restraints. One after another, they signaled confirmation that the restraints were secure. One spat in Mador's face, though the war general gave no sign of noticing. Carter stepped back and called out, "Stand down to blue. Go to full facility lockdown. Send out the notifications to all next of kin and the Galactic Council." The klaxons stopped their haunting sounds as the red strobes were traded for a steady ambient blue. Most of the responders received a quick notification in their HUDs that their families had been notified of the situation, followed by another notification that all communications had been temporarily suspended. They formed a tight group around the prisoners and, as one, began marching War General Mador through the heavy doors and into a hallway. Adjacent doors beheld civilian spectators, all watching in horror and disbelief as the reason for their sudden sequestration passed into view. Several screamed and beat their fists against the windows as he went by, clamoring for retribution. After what felt to Carter like an eternity, they reached another large door. It opened silently, and Carter stepped through, followed by Mador and half of the contingent of soldiers. In the middle of the room stood a small table with a simple chair on one side. Across from it, a more complex apparatus stood ominously, with several holes and jagged shapes all over it. Mador shuffled forward, placed himself into the apparatus. It sprung to life and connected to his restraints at several points. Locks whirred into place, and several red lights switched to green. Breathing somewhere more easily now, Carter took a seat in the chair as the soldiers spread out around the room, never lowering their weapons from Mador. Carter tapped a panel on the table, which chimed pleasantly in reply. "Acting Colonel Carter, serial number 112-35813. Recording interrogation of War General Mador of the Strier Conquest Legion." Another chime. "War General Mador, you have been placed under arrest for over 7,000 war crimes across hundreds of species." 7,483 war crimes across 562 planets, estimated dead approaching 1 trillion sentient beings, plus the ecosystem of 42 former life-bearing planets. Carter tapped the table, updating a few records as Mudor spoke. He resumed speaking as the table chimed acceptance of the updates. Very well, the records have been updated to reflect these numbers. Tell me, War General Mudor, why have you surrendered yourself to us? Surely you must know what's waiting for you on the other side of this interrogation. I do. I'm hoping what's waiting doesn't change. You hope to be executed publicly? I'm hoping that you can succeed in executing me. Yes. Carter blinked for a few moments. Perhaps we should start at the beginning, then, and get all the information we need, and I'll see what we can do to oblige you. Mudor nodded, as much as he could in the restraints. As you know, I led the Star Conquest Legion in a long war across most of the galaxy. We subjugated planets. Those who wouldn't bow were exterminated and pillaged. My war fleet grew stronger with every defeated world. My warriors feasted on the meat of sentience. We burned entire worlds to husks. We didn't care at all that a life-harboring planet is such a rare gem. For us, for me, there was only the conquering, only the taking of everything for myself. Many planets sent out distress signals at my approach. Some even continued transmitting as I melted their cities to glass from above. I thought they were pitiful, whining, mewling little vermin, begging the emptiness to save them. After the 562nd planet, the emptiness came upon my fleet. I thought my own ship mighty and innumerable. The emptiness spat out a cloud of titans. Any single one of those vessels matched my fleet for weight, and they outnumbered me 1,000 to 1. They sent no signals. They gave no warning or hesitation. They appeared and they opened fire on every single ship in my armada, save one, mine. They dragged my ship through the debris field and into one of their own. My ship's weapons fired without ceasing, but did nothing. It was just a child throwing pebbles upon a mountain. Then they tore open the ship, as one might strip a hide from a beast. As they went, they captured my crew and bound them up. They came to the bridge and took me, and my attempts to resist were feeble by comparison to their strength. I was as weak and as impotent then as all the crying children were on every planet I had taken were against me. They restrained me to a wall, and one by one they brought my crew before me. Each one was placed in front of me, in full view, and these monsters killed them. The first few kills were quick. Then the monster started prolonging it. One of my flight captains was systematically dismembered. They were slow and careful the entire time. He lived through everything they did to him before they finally killed him. His silence was a momentary mercy. Several of the monsters took his limbs and roasted them over open flame, then looked at me in the eye and ate from his flesh. His blood was running from their mouths, from their horrible gnashing teeth. When I looked like I might pass out, they injected me with stimulants. I thought my heart would explode, but their cruelty was precise, and I lived through it all. They found my children. They placed them before me, gave each of them a small blade, and said whoever kills the other one gets to go free. My children sobbed and begged me to save them from the monsters. After a while, my son realized I wasn't going to save them. How could I? I was paralyzed and bound. My son put his knife down, grabbed his little sister's hand, and pulled her knife into him. Such bravery my son had. My little girl screamed and screamed and screamed. And then the monster showed me his teeth and shot her in the head. All these atrocities I committed, they visited back on me. They made me watch. They pulled me behind a door and pressed my eyes against the window to see them open the airlock and dump the bodies of my soldiers and my children into the emptiness. Then they took me to a surgical bay. I was still paralyzed, but I could feel. They cut me open and installed some kind of device. Then They closed me up and dropped me on the nearest planet with a tiny shuttle. And they left. Carter, who had been listening in abject horror, found his voice after a few moments of silence. I see. Do you know what the device is exactly? Memories. Come again? They collected all the distress calls, all the screams, all the recordings of the aftermath of my crimes. Everything. And they put them all in my head. They'll play forever. Even now they're playing. I can hear mothers weeping over dead babies on record too, where we took their entire food supply. The survivors are broken from having to resort to cannibalism just to get the next harvest time. That species will never recover from what I did to them. Functionally, they are extinct, except in my head, where their screams will live for eternity. This is not the first time that you've mentioned eternity and immortality, War General. The device has a second function. I tried killing myself several times before I came to you. I healed afterwards. I healed from a plasma bolt to the head. I healed from being exposed to the hard vacuum and then atmospheric re-entry and planetary impact. Somehow, this device won't let me die. Carter leaned back in his chair. And because you know our law demands that you'd be executed and fully killed for your crimes, you came to us knowing that we would uphold our laws. I came to beg for mercy, something I never offered to anyone. Tell me, do you know the name of these would-be monsters, saviors? If I speak their name, will you kill me? If you speak the name, I shall consider this interrogation complete and direct our medical personnel to extract the aforementioned device, that you might be summarily executed. They're called humans, and they... Carter leaned forward to catch the whisper. They made me watch. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.